What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cousy. I'm sitting here with Cameron Selby, and today we're going to talk about the Bills and Dolphins game on Thursday Night Football. Very exciting game. We actually had to record this a little bit later than expected because we just didn't know who was going to play running back for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, usually we want to record this on Tuesday. There's not going to be much, to talk about. And then even if there is, there's like, okay, if this happens, then this
Right.
one thing is going to happen. But both Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert were game time decisions, and we expected some kind of information coming out on Wednesday. That's why we wanted to wait a day. Raheem Mostert, lo and behold, he is ruled out. Devon Achane practiced in full for their limited session today. So more likely than not, Devon Achane is going to play. Raheem Mostert we know is not, and then obviously somebody like Malik Washington that we thought with Robbie Chosen getting dropped to the practice squad, we thought there was a chance that they might move him up, and
Right.
he was minimum price, and it's really easy to fit all the studs. He's rolled out as well. So a lot of names that could kind of come out of nowhere, but it's really fun because Miami, you know exactly who they're going to have touches to. Buffalo, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And you just kind of have to have that even balance. And it sounds like we're on kind of different narratives in this game on, we're going to have different picks, and we'll just kind of get into, our thoughts on that. And we'll run through each team and viable plays on each side.
Absolutely. So let me pull it up right here. Just kind of looking. Let me go ahead and take only one of these teams. Talking about this, Miami, I think it's good to get them first. As you can see, Raheem Mostert has been rolled out completely. We kind of know where the ball's going. If you go Tua, say you put him in the captain spot, which I don't think I recommend this week, but if you do, you want to get some Tyreek Hill, you want to get some Jalen Waddle. Achane is actually the wide receiver 3 in the offense, had seven targets, I believe, making him very interesting as a play there. And then I guess kind of maybe adding a tight end if you want Jonnu, but Jonnu actually didn't play nearly as much.
He didn't play. He played about 23% of snaps, if I remember correctly, top of my head. The highest snap count was actually somebody that I had never heard of. Was Julian Hill, who's way down at 600. He's our cheapest if you got to put in someone. Also, since Malik Washington is ruled out, I guess you have to mention Robbie Chosen being as cheap as he is, because he could just, all you need is one catch from a minimum price guy, and he's returned value. Even if they get 0 in that spot, but you hit the other 5, especially on a slate like this where there's Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, Tua. You can only pick a couple of those guys, and being able to afford one more of them is worth a 0 sometimes, especially on high-scoring slates.
Yep,
like this one.
I was actually thinking about my first look having him in it so that I could get to another guy, but it's still one of those slates where you kind of have to really pick and decide, because one team, I believe you're on the Miami side and I'm actually on the Buffalo side, but even the kickers are very important on this slate, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jason Sanders ended up with 10 points. He had the game winner walk-off kick against the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. And then Tyler Bass, had a couple field goals himself. I actually was kind of flirting with my prop of the night being Tyler Bass, because of the fact that I think that it could be just a not as shootout kind of a game, and also his 1.5 field goals is a pepper or demon, whatever you want to consider it, on both sides for both Prize Picks and Underdog. Both are viable. Both are under $5,000. As a last guy in, each guy has an opportunity, and you can paint a picture of them scoring 10 plus points.
Absolutely. Let's get into this slate, though, talking about, this side of the ball. Of course, these are the guys that we're most likely going to want to put into the game. Tua had 300 yards this last week. Is he one of the only two, right?
Yeah, he was one of two, him and Matthew Stafford. I believe he had the most.
338 out of him.
338, yes.
Yeah. He's always viable because he gets tons of passing volume. He has no rushing upside, but at the same time, we know who to put with him. We know how to pair him. If you're going to put any of his pass catchers in the captain spot, you have to put Tua in the line.
Exactly.
And that shoots up his ownership naturally.
Because if Miami's going to score and Tua's involved, it's because he threw it. It has nothing to do with his ground or his legs.
Right.
And he doesn't really get sniped as often as somebody like a Jared Goff.
Right.
As like Jared Goff, he could throw for 300 yards, but have one touchdown. And he have a great game on the surface level, but fantasy perspective, it's not that hot. Tua, on the other hand, he's a perfect DraftKings style quarterback because of the fact that he is so has so much upside to hit that 300-yard bonus every week and week out because of the skill players he has around him.
Right, absolutely. So we like Tua this week. If you are going to go with one of his pass catchers, Tyreek Hill, he is at 99.5 is his prop for receiving yards. He had 130 in week 1. It's not much to say about him. He could break any slate at any given time. Doesn't matter how many games are on it. So I think he's pretty easy to go by. And then Jalen Waddle, the other receiver, he actually also had over 100 yards this last week, 63-yard long. Tell me what you think about both of these receivers.
So Tyreek Hill, he's an easy click.
Yeah.
Just because he's going to have his target prop is actually 11. So to get the over, he has to have 12 targets, which if he has 12 targets, I can promise you he's going to return value.
Absolutely.
Even if he's at 11.6, which
goodness.
is the highest on the slate. Jalen Waddle, on the surface, it looks nice. I was a little concerned of the touches. He had 5 touches or 5 opportunities last week. He caught all 5, went over 100 yards like he does, but that was mostly because of a 63-yard catch and run
Right.
where he got caught from behind and ended up not scoring, I don't think, on that drive. So that was kind of a crucial, missed opportunity for Miami, who was trailing at the time. 86 is very reasonable to go to. Obviously, if Raheem Mostert, one less buy to go to. Malik Washington, they don't really focus on tight ends much. Braxton Berrios, who played the most as a wide receiver 3 in terms of snap count last week, I think he missed both of his opportunities.
Yeah,
he went 0 for 2, I think. So, like I said, Miami very condensed on who's going to get the ball. And Devon Achane, even though we expect him to play, I don't expect a 20-touch game. So another person that I do want to mention, even though we're just talking about the studs, is Jeff Wilson. He actually got some run, and Jalen Wright was the healthy scratch. So both of them are 24 and 2,000 respectively. If you have a lean towards one or the other, I'm probably just going to lean Jeff Wilson just because he's been there.
Right.
He's the change of pace and kind of, bulkier back. He's the only one they have, and Jalen Wright and Devon Achane are both scat backs. I expect Jalen Wright to be active in this game. I just don't know how much workload he'll get. I know Jeff Wilson will have touches. He might be touchdown or bust, but at 2,400 is something that I'm willing to risk.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. And then looking at the other side of the ball, let's go to Buffalo. Maybe. Buffalo, if you're going to get some Josh Allen, because he is one of our favorite plays this week, James Cook can be put into that reception type of guy. Kincaid, Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Curtis Samuel. All these guys are, you just don't know where the ball's going. But like you look at those guys and you're like, okay, well, if you wanted to pick, I like Kincaid this week. He's a tight end that had a bad game this last week. He was on the field for, 70% of the snaps or more. He will have the upside and he's going to bounce back sooner or later. So I don't hate it.
Again, it was weird it was a very weird game. Obviously, it was a typical Josh Allen game where he has 4 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, had 10 or 9 carries himself, and he's going to be a goal line threat. He is our must play, even though we're a disagreement in terms of who we're selecting to win the game. Our Lions are going to have a very similar feel,
right?
Despite that. So with him, like we mentioned in our main video, he had 2 passing attempts by the 2-minute warning, and it just had low volume. And then it's really funny looking at this on a NFL slate, but obviously Keon Coleman led the way with 5 targets. The next highest guy with a target was 3 targets. So you had one guy with 5 targets, which is pretty low, and then everybody else was 3 or less. That's why we're just like, any of these guys can work out. My problem is a lot of people are going to flock to Khalil Shakir. Him getting the touchdown was cool, but 3 targets and not really having a ton of snaps like one would have expected him to have, especially with Curtis Samuel coming off a turf toe injury.
Right.
It's kind of too concerning. And when we're doing a true stars and scrubs build, 62 is just an awkward range, and I'd rather just kind of get up to 1,000 for Dalton Kincaid, or spin down on a Curtis Samuel or a Keon Coleman, who are cheaper than him.
Completely agree. There's one more guy I want to mention that's not in this group. I'll just clear this. He is down here. Whoa, way down here now. At 1,600, Mac Hollins. Yes. You have to talk about him. He's actually one of my contrarian plays for the week. $1,600 for a guy that was on the field for more plays than anybody but Keon Coleman out of the receiver group. He had 2 receptions for 25 yards and a touchdown. I just think that he has the capability of 3 catches, and at 1,600, that's basically all you need because around him you're really guessing a
Right,
lot. So
exactly. And my thing is just because of the straight up catching the touchdown last week, and if people look at the snap counts,
right,
he's going to be probably the most popular, rivaling Jeff Wilson, who's 800 more expensive. But in terms of MVS, who he had a couple of targets as well, and he was missed on a deep throw. He was open down the field,
right,
and Josh Allen missed him. That would have been a 67-yard possible touchdown. Um, he's worth a look. He'll probably be lower owned. But yeah, again, both of these guys are probably going to get 3 targets, 2, 3 targets. Can they catch it? Can they make the most of it? And obviously, it could break the slate if one of them does end up scoring.
absolutely. So that's our kind of just talking about the slate in each team. I think that both of the kickers are viable options, also just depending on where you're at, on which side. You know, we see it. Let me see these expected game scripts. Cam actually has it much different than I expected. Cam believes it will be 27-20 Miami. So a whole touchdown. Josh Allen has never, Josh Allen in what? I think it was like 4 years. I saw a stat today. I'm sorry. I'm not going to have it correct, but like 4 years, Josh Allen has not had a game where he lost by 6. So if yours is right, that would be something
That's
that we have
definitely a bold
not
one.
seen in a long time because Josh Allen keeps his team in games for sure.
Right. I just think that even though Miami, from a skill position perspective, are the more banged up team, I think they're the team that should be more desperate to come out and win this game because this exact matchup is the reason that Miami had to go into negative weather last year and
Right.
just thud because they dropped a blowout game in the first game at home against Buffalo early in the season. I think it was week 3. It was 48-20, and then 2 weeks to go until the season, basically Buffalo had to win to get in.
Yep.
The final week of the season, they were either going to be the 2 seed or they were going to be out of the playoffs. That's how much of a big turn it was. Miami, they were on the road against Buffalo in the cold. They typically don't play in the cold, but they let that game slip away. And so I think they've lost 3 of the last 4 against Buffalo. This is a game they need to win. It's at home. It's a short week. And Buffalo tends to just kind of be hit or miss a lot with games they're supposed to win or be in.
Right.
And I just think that Miami just needs to come out and take this game. And if they don't, then they're going to be in for a rude awakening because, they have the toughest stretch out of any of the AFC East teams
Of course.
to end the
Yes,
season.
absolutely.
So they really do need to get out of the hot start. They need to be the desperate team, and I'm just going to go and ride with the expectation that they pull out this game.
Okay, so let's talk about our must plays for the game. Your favorite must play, and actually my own. Let me get both teams.
I mean,
on
we
here.
were lock and step on these 2 together. One we were wait and see because we didn't know if he'd be available. Josh Allen, you have to play him. You have to. And then also Devon Achane. With Raheem Mostert out, even if he does have less than 20 touches, we just think it's really easy to get to. And he's, like we said, the passing game, he was second on the team in targets with 7.
7. Yes. What did Waddle have? I don't know what
No,
Waddle
Waddle
had.
had 5.
Okay, then
So,
yes. He had 7 targets, 7 receptions. He was perfect, 7 for 7. The other thing I want to say too is like if Achan is out, click Jeff Wilson, possibly click also Jalen Wright, and make sure Tyreek Hill is in your line. He then becomes by far the must play on the Miami side of
exactly.
the ball. I don't think that that's even a question.
I honestly kind of hope Devon does play because I don't want another situation like the CMC
Right.
inactive where everybody essentially was playing the same 6 in a different order. And then the last guy in was either a kicker or a defense or Alan Lazard is somebody that I had in all my lines when CMC was playing. And then I took them all out because I was like, well, I don't need to go that cheap. And that bit me in the ass real good.
Right, exactly. So let's let these guys play. Come on. Or we need to make sure we talk about the pricing prior.
Yeah. So one of the fades I actually had before we ended up seeing him roll out was Raheem Mostert.
Mm-hmm.
He really did not have much of a workload, and we were big on fading him this year at a 6th, 7th round ADP. It was mainly because he had such an outlier year of doubling his 8-year career touchdown total in his age 31 season. Now he's age 32. We didn't expect that he was going to have nearly as much of a consistent workload. And Devon Achane, it wasn't going to be both of them going for, approaching 35 touchdowns
Right.
again. One of them was going to pan out and one of them was going to fail. And so I was just going to lean with Mostert, and he was the one back that really just struggled, essentially. Like Jeff Wilson, in his 5 touches for 26 yards, he was the most efficient on the ground. Devon Achane, obviously, he scored a rushing touchdown, but his game was in his bread and butter was in the passing game. Where he
Right.
had 7 for 76. Raheem Mostert, though, had 2 catches, 10 yards, and 6 carries for 9 yards.
Mhm.
And he's, like I said, we were very low on him. He was out. Shouldn't have even gone on that long because he's not even playing, so it doesn't matter. But the other fade for me, like I did bring this up a little bit earlier, but Khalil Shakir, 6,200. That's just going to be a weird range that we're not really going to get to in the 6,000-ish range. If we're going to play a mid-range player at all, it's going to be Dalton Kincaid.
Yep.
Or we're going to go all the way below 6,000. Keon Coleman, like we said, we might just do a double punt and just
Right.
4 studs.
Absolutely.
That's probably what my first look's going to look similar to. But yeah, that was a guy that I'm not going to get to this week at 62.
I actually made 2 first looks, and then I was going to probably make both of them up here and ask you which one you liked more.
Okay.
But I do want to see your first look. Wait, do we have any other? Oh, contrarian plays we just talked about. So yeah. What is your go-to contrarian play this week?
So honestly, it went back and forth because I put a Malik Washington as a minimum price play that
Right.
nobody was really going to be on, but obviously he is out. And Raheem Mostert being out, obviously Jeff Wilson is going to be probably the most popular guy under 3,000. So it's not necessarily a tournament play. I'm going to go with Curtis Samuel.
Okay.
It's a very ugly, doesn't fit well. It's awkward to even talk about. He had, very limited sample size in his first game off a turf toe. But, I looked at his props and numbers. I'm just like, that's too low for, what he could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody's going to be on him because of his so-so season opener. Keon Coleman, obviously, he led the team in targets. He's 400 higher, and then 400 below Curtis Samuel. That's the kicker range for both of them, which are viable. I think he can even get under 10% ownership. And so if he is going to be flirting with single-digit ownership, he's just worth a stab if we're going to do a 3 max.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Let's talk about our first looks.
So you said you already have 2, so I want you to kind of do each one.
Okay.
And we'll kind of walk through kind of the story.
So I think if you are going to do, I'm going to do one cap Josh Allen line. Okay. Because I think that with his rushing upside, and we'll talk about our prize picks and underdog later, but just kind of preluding that, Josh Allen at 16.5 at cap, it just feels like, it doesn't feel too expensive when you don't know who he's going to throw the ball to. And he's going to snipe somebody's rushing touchdown. That's what happens. It's just what he does. So Josh Allen, I'm going to go Tyreek Hill and Achane because I told you if Achane's out, Tyreek Hill's in every line for sure. And I'm still going to force him into every line. Shoot. So both of those guys for sure. And then now my lineup is kind of scary. I also really like Curtis Samuel this week. He will be my receiver for the Buffalo Bills. And then I'm going to go down here to, let's see, where is 2,400? Bang. Put that guy in there. I think
Jason Sanders.
Yep, and get Jason's.
Yeah, that's exactly a line that I built earlier. It's not my first look,
okay,
but it's a line that I built, and I felt pretty good about it.
Okay, great.
So, I mean, obviously with mine, it kind of caters a little bit in my favor just because it is a 4-2 build for Miami.
Right.
But, I mean, whether you think, Buffalo's going to win or Miami's going to win, it's going to be from the same players.
Mm-hmm.
They should be having, similar outcomes, whether it's win or lose.
And it's close. It's a close game. It's not like it's a blowout in any way, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So this is my first line, and then I'll build my second line. A guy that I didn't get in my first line will be my captain, and that is Mr. Kincaid.
You mother trucker.
Is this your line? What?
I don't know, but
I told you all the players I'm putting in there, right? Already.
Okay.
They're going in there. Sorry. Then we're going to go down here. Where is... Oh, I'm going to fade Jeff Wilson in this line, which makes it contrarian. And I'm going to go with...
Yeah, that's my first look.
No way.
Yeah,
All
it
right,
is.
cool.
So,
Heck yeah. So I just yeah, which one do you like more? No,
so
I'm just kidding.
well, obviously this one is a Buffalo catered build.
Right.
I don't know if I think it's even necessary for us to have, if we're doing a three max, having Curtis Samuel in two lines. I don't know.
Fair
It,
enough.
it worked out pretty well last week when we did it with Isaiah Likely. But like I said, I think he's going to be single digit ownership. What I liked about the line was I think Kincaid, there will be some shares of him in a bounce back. I think he'll be high 30s
Right.
in terms of ownership because he's really the true. You're either going Jalen Waddle and above, or you're going, Khalil Kieran below. He's kind of on an island by himself, and so I think that's why some people will just naturally click on him. But I feel like he's going to be a very interesting contrarian captain.
Yes, I
Because I
agree.
feel like a lot of people, because there's so many ways to do a double punt and then afford a really expensive captain. So that's why I like this build. And so again, we do this a lot where we don't talk and we have the same kind of thoughts, which is cool when we're on the same page, even if we're on different sides of this game.
So I want to build a line that we have not seen yet. We're just gonna kind of wing it like we normally try to on one of these lines. We can get a little crazy, of
what
course.
I want to do is I want to do an expensive captain, and instead of going a Sanders and a punt, I want to do a double punt.
Okay.
And see what we can do.
Can we do HN?
We can do HN.
Beautiful. And then we're definitely going to go these two guys, right?
I want to do all four of them.
All four. 2-2.
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't made a line with Tua, and I think a double quarterback is viable on this slate. And
perfect amount of money.
Exactly. So exactly who I was thinking about going with MVS and Matt Collins. If you wanted to go all the way down to Braxton Berrios, I think he'll be much lower owned, but he had the snaps.
So I think this is
doing that as well.
Crazy, but you could go a 5-1 here that I think makes a lot of sense. And with Jeff Wilson and Berrios. Which I mean, as a tournament play, I don't hate it. If you wanted to, you could obviously go the 3-3 with this line here. I think that I don't really want anybody from Buffalo lower than 1,600 at MVS.
Yeah, I think the only guys below 1,600 are really Berrios. And I mean, whatever tight end you're comfortable with, Julian Hill's the cheapest and he played the most. So that's why by default he kind of entered my mind. But I'm not like excited to play him if I even do.
Let me see something. I think, what if we did... I do want all four of these guys in a
Now,
line.
if you wanted to, we could just go Matt Collins and just do a fun Jalen Wright as the last guy in.
Yeah.
That's a 4-2 build, but obviously Josh Allen showed last week you don't need to stack him for him to pay off his 30-point threshold. And then in terms of Miami, you need skill players around Tua, and you've got 3 skill players around Tua.
Absolutely, it's beautiful. One more, because I think it's interesting to get, because we did get one Kincaid line, obviously, but we didn't get him in just not in a flex spot. I think we should put him in a flex spot on this one.
So we've done an Allen captain, we've done an HN captain. Let's do a Tyreek Hill captain.
Whoa, way up there. All right, up there. So we're gonna have to pay for Allen. We already talked about that. Tua goes with Tyreek Hill. So are we fading HN, or are we just breathing?
Well, let's put in HN just to see what we can afford, and which obviously we can get to kind of essentially whatever we want.
$200 difference. We'd have $5,000 here.
If we have if we take Tua, we can go with we could do the route of him getting banged up, or say he's inactive and you go double Miami running back. I mean, that's going to be really easy to get to. It's going to leave 600 remainder.
Yeah, I like that, especially if HN is out. This is a beautiful line.
Or gets banged up again, because if HN is in, he's going to be over 50% owned. And obviously Wilson's going to be played regardless.
Right.
But Jalen Wright is going to be very much differently owned, whether HN plays or not. And if HN's in, maybe 12% gets at him, maybe. But obviously, if HN's out, he skyrockets up to probably about 30.
Right, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was an interesting kind of, and it correlates a little bit, playing the narrative of HN either being out or banged up.
Yep, I think this is a cool line too. So, just kind of make the narrative. We always talk about the story matters. This is kind of how, if you wrote this story where Achan is out, this line makes a lot of sense. Our lines from earlier, it's bounce back games. It's make sure you get Josh Allen, you get Achan, you get Tyreek Hill, because you want all three big scorers. And I think it's a really cool slate. I
Yeah,
think there's a
and
lot of ways to get right.
yeah, it's gonna be a very fun game to watch. Before we do get out of here, both of us hit our must click
Oh,
props of
yes.
the week, or props of the night rather, for the Thursday night game last week. Rasheed Rice smashed his over, and Xavier Worthy had a great game, but we were sweating at the end until he had his second touchdown, and he went over by a couple yards, depending on wherever you got that number. So this week, each of us get a prop. Let's see where we're starting. So you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and ride with Josh Allen. 37.5 rushing yards.
It's available. Don't read into that.
It says not available, and it's probably because it's a lot of people are betting the over. It's all the way juiced up to 39 on Prize Picks, so I'm assuming that's where it's headed. It's probably going to level out around 39 or 40. I just think it's a really good play. I don't know where this offense, or if they're going to put up points, where it's going, but I know Josh Allen's going to be involved.
Absolutely.
He had 39 rushing yards last week. I expect him to have, a similar outing of just 8-9 rushing opportunities. And really, even last week when he had those, he didn't really have that breakaway run,
Right.
which we're accustomed to seeing. So, very interesting prop. That's what it's going to be my prop of the night.
I actually thought about that prop, but I found one that I thought was more fun. I have a pepper, and it's actually a demon and a pepper for y'all on both sites right now. Jalen Phillips over half a sack is currently at 2.02x. It was at 0.25 of a sack at 2.57x. So everybody else saw it too. It was one of my favorite picks early in the day. Last week, Buffalo plays against Arizona. Arizona had 33 total sacks last year. Miami had 54, I believe, and they were top 3. They don't have their top pass rushers other than Jalen Phillips,
who got his first coming back off his Achilles injury
against Jacksonville last week. He has done this 6 out of 6 times in a row. He has gotten a sack. I don't see there being any difference here. I think that he will find a way to get home one time in this game.
Right, and then with I know it says a half sack, but normally it's just like he either does it or he doesn't. Like with the pick, you don't have half a pick. Well, you do have half a sack, so
right.
You do have the protection of if they kind of squeeze him in and 2 people bring him down, you get the push. But yeah, it being way more than just an even line is definitely worth mentioning. So we did pair that with one of the promos that Underdog has. If you did want to go back to the home screen, we brought this up in our Underdog props of the week first look. CeeDee Lamb, rest of the week, half a yard. Easy prop to go over. And then when we're talking about Prize Picks, Caleb Williams, they brought it back half a yard for his. And even though he only had 93 yards, he still hit the over.
Absolutely.
So you got to play both of them. Get some extra bankroll for you. We're in for due for a big bounce back spot. And it's going to start off tomorrow night.
Absolutely. So we really appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Let me stop sharing so you can see our pretty faces. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us and being with us. We are getting after it on all kinds of social media sites. Discord has been doing really good. We have a ton of winnings in there right now. Not only in football, but in other sports. We're doing spread picks in there, underdog and prize picks, and then of course DraftKings, as we have been talking about today. And so we'd appreciate if y'all got in there. There's a link in our bio on this video, and on a link in the description and in our bio for this video. So if you would like to be a part of that, we'd appreciate y'all coming and hanging out.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, we did the main slate as well, first look, that we're going to be posting the same day. So please check that out. Just kind of get an idea of what we're looking at, where we're targeting. And then obviously every Sunday morning now, starting at 8:30, we're going to be hanging out with y'all, answering any kind of questions you have, whether it's start and sit questions. We're going to be building a ton of lines on DraftKings. Just kind of be playing around everywhere. It's going to be fun. Last week it didn't go so well, but we're going to bounce back in big fashion this week. I'm excited for it, and I just want y'all to be a part of it. Let's win together.
Yeah, one thing I will say before we go is you need to play every week.
Yes.
Because the one week you don't play, you will really regret it, because that'll be the week that you win. I know that sounds like betting, but that's what it is, guys. Like, we're not going to hit every single week. But what will happen is we will hit more often than we won't, and that is what matters.
Yeah, last week, obviously, we're not going to go over numbers of plus minus of what we end up investing ourselves in, but it was one of the worst openers I've had from a main slate perspective ever.
Right.
None of our mains cashed. We were just kind of wrong in a lot of areas. And I was one leg of a garbage time touchdown from Tyrod Taylor away from being a huge profit on the week. And that garbage touchdown is what put me under, but is what it is. It was a bad week. And I'm not going to let that sway me one way or the other because I know more often than not we're going to be coming out on top.
Funny thing is that for me, I actually was up overall because of our Thursday night football. Thursday night football last week, and we're talking about Thursday football right now. We both hit really big because we picked we understood that slate so well. We knew what was going to happen in that game. We picked it exactly how we were supposed to. We got the Isaiah Likely, we got the Justice Hill, we got Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, all right. So that actually put me up, which is perfect. Right. So and make sure you play everything.
Em is way better than me at just kind of managing like, hey, let's not get too excited. I got way, way too excited after almost getting first place in the showdown.
Yeah.
I had all 6 right, just the wrong captain. And, it was a big payout. And I was just like, all right, we're off. Let's go run. And fell flat on my face. But what Em said, perfect picture. If you play even and you just continue to play, you could fail every single time. I don't know if you had a single line that cashed on the main slate, but Thursday night showdown, 1 out of 8 or 9 lines that we played is what put him over the top.
Yeah,
so
we're
all
top
it takes
5.
is 1.
Yeah, we were top 5 in both contests that we did because of that line, and that line was 20x or something like that at one point. So that puts you, gives you that opportunity. So make sure you play. Do not miss out. And we also love playing all kinds of slates. We play Sunday, Monday. We play primetime. We play randomly. We'll play even like a individual game slate, like showdown slates. Of course, Thursday night and Monday night are a thing, but like Sunday night football, that slate doesn't get attacked as much as these other ones. Early only, afternoon, you have to get them all. You have to diversify your funds, and that's how you actually win money, in my opinion. It's not throwing one lineup into the Millie Maker with 150 with other people putting 150 lines in and just thinking, this is my lottery ticket. No, that's not how you win money. It's by diversifying and bankrolling and making sure that you're doing it the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Like not very often you're going to have Alec Pierce and a double stack of Shaheed and Juwan Johnson, who didn't play the entire camp, be the optimal line. That usually is better correlated. More often than not, it's going to be a higher score. And more often than not, we're going to be on the right side of cashing in lines because we have a good hit rate of just kind of correlating our lines really well. And, like you saw today, we did separate first looks and he built my first look without even my influence at all. That's just kind of how we think. And
well, also our story wasn't the same. I think Buffalo's going to win. He thinks Miami's going to win, but we still know what players are going to do fantasy wise rather than just the total score of the game.
Right.
And that is also important. So we really appreciate y'all hanging out with us, of course. And I'm sure we just ranted a little bit too long, but we appreciate y'all coming and hanging out and being a part of this. Go check us out on all of our socials. We just got lucky enough to blow up on TikTok. We got, I don't know what's that now. Maybe it's close to 50,000 views on one video.
Eat them up, cats.
Yeah, we're hoping that Texas State does really well right down the street, both alums. But yeah, we're trying to build a community, and we appreciate y'all being with us if you are watching this video.
Yep.
So
till the next time. See y'all Sunday.